Have you ever wondered if there is someone perfectly aligned with your soul, destined to cross paths with you at the right time? If you're watching this, it's not by accident. God is preparing you for a profound connection, one that is not based merely on emotions but on His divine plan. In today's world, love is often misunderstood. Movies, books, and social media portray it as something fleeting, driven by passion and impulse. But love, in God's eyes, is more than just an emotion. It is a sacred partnership designed to strengthen your faith, uplift your spirit, and fulfill your divine purpose. His plan for your love story is not random, it is intentional, woven into the fabric of your destiny. The Bible tells us in Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 1, "To everything, there is a season, and a time to every purpose under heaven." This means that love is not something you chase, it is something you prepare for. God is not withholding love from you, He is refining you for it. The waiting season is not a punishment but a time of preparation. You are being shaped, molded, and strengthened to receive the love He has set aside for you. Many people fear being alone, and in that fear, they rush into relationships that were never meant for them. But divine love does not come from desperation, it comes from faith. Look at Ruth. She did not chase after love, nor did she manipulate circumstances to find a husband. She remained faithful, worked diligently, and trusted in God's timing. And because of that, He led her to Boaz, a man who honored and cherished her faithfulness. If your heart has been broken before, you may wonder if love is even meant for you. Perhaps you've been disappointed, misled, or left questioning your worth. But hear this truth: God has not forgotten you. Just as He orchestrated divine unions in the past, He is working behind the scenes for you now. The right person will not just come into your life, they will align with your spirit, encourage your purpose, and walk with you in faith. One of the greatest signs of a God-ordained relationship is peace. 1 Corinthians chapter 14 verse 33 says, "For God is not the author of confusion, but of peace." If a relationship constantly leaves you feeling anxious, uncertain, or distant from God, it may not be His plan for you. True love from God will bring clarity, not chaos, strength, not struggle, joy, not fear. If you are in a season of waiting, take this time to grow, strengthen your faith, develop your character, and seek God's wisdom. The person He has for you will not be drawn to your loneliness, but to your wholeness in Him. Love is not just about finding the right person, it is about becoming the right person. So, if you believe that God has a divine love planned for you, take a moment to surrender your fears, trust His timing, and prepare your heart. Love is coming. The question is, will you be ready to receive it? If this message resonates with you, leave a comment, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. May God bless you as you walk in faith, preparing for the love He has destined for you. God's purpose for love is far greater than fleeting emotions or worldly desires. It is a reflection of His own divine nature. Love is not just something we feel, it is something we live, something we give, and something that transforms us. The Bible tells us that God Himself is love, and through love, we come to know Him more deeply. When we seek love through a worldly lens, we may find temporary happiness. But when we seek it through God's perspective, we step into something far greater, a love that is rooted in faith, purpose, and divine alignment. From the very beginning, love was part of God's perfect design. He created Adam and saw that it was not good for him to be alone. So He formed Eve, not merely as a companion but as a partner in purpose. This reveals a key truth. Love is not just about personal fulfillment, but about divine assignment. Godly relationships are not built on shallow attraction but on a deeper calling. They are meant to strengthen both individuals, drawing them closer to their faith and their God-given destiny. Many people enter relationships expecting another person to complete them, but no human can fill the spaces that only God is meant to fill. True love is not about fixing loneliness, it is about two whole individuals walking together in alignment with God's will. Love, when given and received according to God's plan, refines us, shapes us, and prepares us for something greater. It is not about possession but about transformation. Spiritual growth is one of the greatest purposes of love. The right relationship will push you closer to God, not further away. Look at the story of Esther. Her relationship with King Xerxes was not just about love, it was about fulfilling a divine mission. Through their union, an entire nation was saved. This reminds us that love is not just for personal happiness but for a greater purpose that we may not always see at first. A true, God-ordained relationship will challenge you to grow, to have faith, and to become more like Christ. Trusting God's timing is essential. Many feel anxious about when they will find love, but Ecclesiastes teaches us that there is a season for everything. Just because love has not yet come does not mean it never will. God's delays are not denials, they are preparations. He is shaping you, refining you, and aligning you with the right person at the right time. Ruth did not chase after Boaz, she remained faithful to God's plan. And in doing so, she was placed in the right position for divine love. Instead of searching desperately, we should focus on becoming the person God has called us to be. When love is truly from God, it does not bring confusion or fear, it brings peace. If a relationship pulls you away from your faith, causes more pain than growth, or fills you with doubt rather than clarity, it is worth questioning whether it is truly from God. The right love will not demand that you sacrifice your relationship with God, but will encourage you to deepen it. Love, at its core, is a divine gift. It is not meant to be rushed or forced, but received with trust. If you are waiting for love, trust God's plan. If you are in love, nurture it with faith. And if you have been hurt by love, know that God is a healer, and He has something greater ahead for you. Love, as designed by God, is not just about receiving, it is about giving, growing, and glorifying Him. Trust in His purpose, and when the time is right, love will come. A God-sent relationship is not just about attraction or convenience, it is a divine connection that aligns with His purpose for your life. In a world filled with fleeting emotions and temporary bonds, it is easy to mistake infatuation for true love. However, godly love is not based on momentary feelings but on spiritual foundations that stand the test of time. Recognizing the signs of a God-ordained relationship requires discernment, faith, and an understanding of His Word. One of the first and most important signs of a relationship sent by God is peace. God is not the author of confusion but of peace. When love is truly from Him, it does not create anxiety, doubt, or fear. Instead, it brings a deep, unshakable calm. This does not mean the relationship will be free of challenges, but even in difficult moments, there will be an underlying sense of security and assurance. When you are constantly questioning whether someone is right for you, or if a relationship is filled with chaos, it may not be God's best for you. True love from God aligns with His perfect peace. Another powerful sign of a godly relationship is that it strengthens your faith. A God-sent partner will not distract you from your relationship with Him but will encourage you to grow spiritually. This person will challenge you to pray more, seek His wisdom, and trust Him deeper. They will not pull you into sin but will help you walk in righteousness. If a relationship causes you to compromise your faith or neglect your spiritual life, it is worth questioning whether it is truly from God. The right person will make you better, not lead you away from Him. Timing is another crucial aspect of divine love. Ecclesiastes reminds us that there is a season for everything. When love is truly from God, it will happen in His perfect timing, not in rushed desperation. Many people force relationships out of fear of being alone, but forced love rarely lasts. A godly relationship unfolds naturally, without manipulation or striving. It is a connection that feels orchestrated by something greater than human effort. When two people are meant to be together, doors open effortlessly, and circumstances align in ways that cannot be explained. A relationship from God also encourages personal growth. Love is not about remaining stagnant. It is about becoming more of who God created you to be. The right partner will challenge you in the best way possible, pushing you toward your goals, dreams, and spiritual calling. They will not hold you back but will support you in becoming the best version of yourself. Just as iron sharpens iron, a godly relationship refines both individuals, making them stronger together. Forgiveness and grace are at the core of a God-sent relationship. No relationship is perfect, but when two people are walking in God's love, they will extend grace to one another. They will not hold grudges or seek revenge but will practice patience, understanding, and mercy. The ability to resolve conflicts in a healthy and loving way is a sign of maturity and spiritual alignment. Love that comes from God is built on a foundation of forgiveness. Just as He forgives us, divine love is also selfless. Worldly love often focuses on personal desires and expectations. But godly love is about serving and uplifting one another. It seeks the best for the other person, even at personal cost. A relationship that is centered on Christ will be marked by humility, sacrifice, and a desire to love as He loves. If a relationship is based solely on what one can receive rather than what they can give, it may not be aligned with God's design. Finally, a God-ordained relationship will be confirmed through prayer and wise counsel. When something is truly from Him, it will not contradict His word. Seeking His guidance through prayer will bring clarity, and the wisdom of trusted mentors or spiritual leaders can provide confirmation. When others who are strong in faith see the hand of God in a relationship, it serves as an additional affirmation of His will. Recognizing a God-sent relationship is not about perfection but about alignment. It is about knowing that the person you are with is not just someone you chose but someone God placed in your life for a greater purpose. Love that is truly from Him is filled with peace, spiritual growth, encouragement, and unwavering faith. If you are seeking a relationship that honors God, trust in His timing, pray for discernment, and be willing to walk away from anything that does not align with His best for you. When love is from God, it will not need to be forced, it will simply be a natural part of His divine plan. Spiritual growth through love is one of the most powerful transformations a person can experience. Love, when rooted in God's design, is not just about emotions or companionship. It is a divine tool for shaping character, deepening faith, and drawing individuals closer to Him. A relationship that aligns with God's will is one that refines, strengthens, and elevates both individuals in their spiritual walk. Love is not merely about happiness, it is about holiness. It is about learning patience, selflessness, and trust in God's timing. True love, when centered on God, teaches patience in ways few other experiences can. In a world where instant gratification is the norm, love reminds us that some of the best things take time. Relationships require endurance, perseverance, and faith in the unseen. Waiting for the right person, overcoming trials together, and allowing love to unfold in God's perfect timing all demand patience. This process is not meant to be frustrating but refining. Just as God's love is patient with us, a godly relationship teaches us to be patient with one another. Beyond patience, love cultivates selflessness. The natural human tendency is to seek one's own desires. But true love is about serving. It is about putting another's needs before your own, not out of obligation, but out of joy. Jesus demonstrated this ultimate selflessness through His sacrifice on the cross. And in relationships, we are called to reflect that kind of love. Whether through small daily sacrifices or grand acts of devotion, love molds us into people who give without expecting in return. This practice of selflessness brings us closer to God, aligning our hearts with His. Another way love fosters spiritual growth is by revealing weaknesses that need refinement. When two people come together, they bring not just their strengths, but also their struggles, fears, and flaws. In isolation, it is easy to overlook personal shortcomings, but in a committed relationship, they are often magnified. This is not a sign of failure, but of growth. God uses love to highlight areas where we need to heal, forgive, or change. Whether it is overcoming jealousy, learning to control anger, or dealing with past wounds, love becomes a mirror that reflects what God wants to transform in us. Forgiveness is another spiritual lesson that love teaches deeply. No relationship is perfect, and conflicts are inevitable, but the ability to forgive, to truly let go of resentment and extend grace, is a sign of spiritual maturity. Just as God forgives us repeatedly, love calls us to do the same for others. Holding on to bitterness stunts spiritual growth, while forgiveness frees the heart to love more deeply. Love is not about keeping score of wrongs but about extending the same mercy that God gives us every day. Love also strengthens faith through trials. Every relationship faces challenges, but those that are God-ordained endure through faith. When difficulties arise, love invites us to rely on God rather than our own strength. It teaches us to pray together, seek divine wisdom, and trust that He is working even in moments of uncertainty. The strongest relationships are not those without trials, but those that turn to God when trials come. Through hardships, love refines faith, making it more resilient and unwavering. One of the most profound aspects of spiritual growth through love is the way it reflects God's love for humanity. A relationship that is rooted in Christ is not just about the two people involved. It is about displaying His love to the world. When others see kindness, humility, and unwavering commitment, they witness a glimpse of divine love. Marriage, in particular, is a reflection of Christ's love for the church. The way we love our partner should mirror the way He loves us, sacrificially, unconditionally, and eternally. A love that is truly from God also encourages a life of purpose. The right partner does not just make you happy, they push you toward your calling. They inspire you to serve, to lead, and to pursue God's purpose for your life. They do not distract you from your mission but strengthen your ability to fulfill it. The best relationships are those where both individuals grow spiritually together, supporting each other in faith and in purpose. Ultimately, spiritual growth through love is about transformation. It is about becoming more like Christ through the way we love, forgive, serve, and endure. Love is not just an emotion, it is a spiritual journey. When centered on God, love is not something that merely exists for personal happiness. It is a divine tool that draws us closer to Him, refining us into the people He created us to be. It is through love that we learn to trust, to heal, to sacrifice, and to grow. And in that growth, we discover the true depth of His love for us. Overcoming challenges with faith is an essential part of a God-centered life. No relationship, no journey, and no calling from God is without obstacles. Challenges are not meant to destroy us, they are designed to strengthen us, refine our character, and deepen our reliance on God. Faith is the foundation that allows us to move forward even when circumstances seem impossible. When difficulties arise, it is easy to be consumed by doubt, fear, and frustration, but faith shifts our perspective, reminding us that God is in control and His plans are greater than our own. When facing trials, it is natural to question why hardships occur, especially when we have been faithful. However, the Bible reminds us that even the most devoted followers of God faced significant challenges. Joseph was betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, and imprisoned unfairly. Yet through it all, he held on to his faith, trusting that God had a greater purpose for his suffering. In the end, his trials positioned him for leadership and allowed him to save countless lives, including his own family. His story is a testament to how faith can turn adversity into triumph. Faith does not eliminate difficulties, but it gives us the strength to endure them. One of the most significant challenges people face is the fear of the unknown. When we cannot see the future, we may hesitate to take steps forward. Yet, faith requires trust in what is unseen. Abraham left everything familiar to follow God's promise, not knowing where he was going. His obedience, despite uncertainty, led to the fulfillment of God's covenant. Likewise, in our own struggles, we must trust that God is leading us, even when we cannot see the full picture. In relationships, challenges often arise that test patience, communication, and commitment. Disagreements, misunderstandings, and external pressures can create tension, but faith serves as an anchor. A relationship built on faith does not crumble under pressure. Instead, it seeks wisdom from God. Prayer becomes a source of strength, allowing couples to turn to God for guidance rather than relying solely on their own emotions. Faith in love means choosing forgiveness over resentment, grace over judgment, and endurance over giving up. Faith also helps overcome personal struggles, whether they be emotional wounds, past traumas, or insecurities. Many people carry burdens that affect their ability to trust and love fully. However, faith reminds us that God is a healer. No pain is too deep, no past too broken for Him to restore. Trusting God means surrendering fears and allowing His love to bring healing. It is through faith that we find the courage to let go of the past and embrace the future He has prepared. Challenges often come in the form of external opposition. Pursuing a God-given purpose may invite criticism, rejection, or discouragement from others. When Nehemiah set out to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem, he faced ridicule and opposition at every step. Yet he remained steadfast, relying on prayer and perseverance. His faith allowed him to complete the task despite resistance. In the same way, faith gives us resilience against negativity. It reminds us that our worth and success are not determined by the opinions of others but by God's calling on our lives. Financial struggles, career setbacks, and seasons of waiting can also test faith. When resources are low and doors seem closed, it is easy to feel abandoned. Yet, faith reassures us that God is our provider. He fed Elijah through ravens, sustained the widow with oil, and multiplied the loaves and fish to feed thousands. God's provision is not always immediate, but it is always sufficient. Faith in difficult seasons teaches us to depend on Him, knowing that He will meet our needs in His perfect timing. One of the most challenging aspects of faith is trusting God when prayers seem unanswered. There are moments when we cry out for healing, restoration, or breakthrough, yet it appears as if nothing is changing. This is where faith is truly tested. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego faced death in a fiery furnace. Yet their faith was unwavering. They declared that even if God did not deliver them, they would still trust Him. That level of faith, believing in God's goodness even when the outcome is uncertain, is what sustains us in our hardest moments. Faith does not mean we will never feel afraid, weak, or uncertain. It means choosing to trust God despite those feelings. It is about moving forward, even when the path is unclear. It is about surrendering control and believing that God is working all things for our good. The challenges we face are not signs of God's absence, but opportunities for His power to be revealed. Faith turns obstacles into testimonies, struggles into strength, and trials into triumphs. When we walk in faith, we do not walk alone. God is with us every step of the way. Letting go and receiving love is one of the most profound spiritual journeys a person can undertake. Many people desire love but struggle to embrace it fully because they are still holding onto past wounds, fears, or disappointments. Love, as designed by God, is not something we chase or force, it is something we must be open to receiving. However, opening our hearts to divine love requires us to release the things that hinder us from experiencing it fully. One of the biggest obstacles to receiving love is the pain of past relationships. Many people carry unresolved hurt from previous experiences. Whether it be betrayal, abandonment, or disappointment, these emotional wounds can create barriers, making it difficult to trust again. But God does not want us to live in fear of love. He calls us to release the burdens of the past so that we can embrace the future He has planned. Just as He tells us to cast our anxieties upon Him, He also asks us to surrender our brokenness. Holding on to past pain only prevents new blessings from entering our lives. Forgiveness plays a crucial role in this process. When we harbor resentment or bitterness, we are not protecting ourselves, we are imprisoning ourselves. Forgiving those who have hurt us does not mean excusing their actions. It means freeing ourselves from the weight of their wrongdoing. It is a choice to no longer let past pain define our future. Joseph, who was betrayed by his own brothers and sold into slavery, had every reason to hold on to bitterness. Yet, he chose to forgive, and because of that, God elevated him to a position of great purpose. When we forgive, we make room for God to work in our lives in ways we never imagined. Another challenge in receiving love is self-doubt. Many people question whether they are truly worthy of the love God has for them. Past mistakes, insecurities, and feelings of inadequacy can lead to self-sabotage. Instead of embracing love, some people push it away out of fear of not being good enough. However, God's love is not based on our perfection, it is based on His grace. He loves us not because we are flawless, but because we are His. Accepting love begins with accepting that we are already loved by God, just as we are. Fear of vulnerability is another major barrier. Love requires openness, and openness requires risk. Many people fear letting others see their true selves, worried that they will be rejected. However, love cannot thrive where walls exist. True, godly love sees beyond imperfections and embraces the soul. Adam and Eve, before the fall, were naked and unashamed. This was not just physical, it was emotional and spiritual. Love flourishes in authenticity. When we allow ourselves to be seen, we allow ourselves to be loved. Trusting God's timing is also essential. Many people struggle with impatience, wanting love to come on their terms and within their desired time frame. However, God's plans are always greater than our own. Sarah, the wife of Abraham, grew impatient waiting for God's promise of a child and took matters into her own hands, leading to unnecessary hardship. When we try to force love outside of God's will, we often create more pain than joy. But when we wait upon the Lord, trusting His perfect timing, we receive love that is truly meant for us. Receiving love also means learning to love ourselves. Jesus commanded us to love our neighbors as ourselves. But if we do not love ourselves, how can we love others fully? Loving ourselves is not about arrogance or self-importance. It is about recognizing that we are created in God's image and treating ourselves with the same kindness and grace that we extend to others. When we see ourselves through God's eyes, we understand that we are worthy of love, and we become more capable of giving and receiving it freely. Letting go also means releasing the need for control. Many people try to control every aspect of their relationships, fearing that if they don't, things will fall apart. But love is not about control, it is about trust. Just as Peter was able to walk on water only when he kept his eyes on Jesus, we can fully embrace love only when we trust in God's guidance. The moment we allow fear to take over, we sink. Surrendering control does not mean being passive. It means actively trusting that God is leading us to the love that is meant for us. Ultimately, letting go and receiving love is an act of faith. It is believing that God knows what is best for us, even when we don't understand. It is choosing to heal rather than stay wounded, to trust rather than fear, and to open our hearts rather than close them. Love is one of God's greatest gifts, but we must be willing to receive it. When we do, we experience the fullness of His blessings, the depth of true connection, and the beauty of a love that is beyond anything we could have imagined. Trusting God's timing is one of the most challenging yet rewarding aspects of faith, especially when it comes to love and relationships. In a world that constantly urges us to chase after what we desire, waiting on God can feel like an impossible task. However, throughout Scripture, we see countless examples of how God's perfect timing brings about blessings that far exceed anything we could orchestrate on our own. One of the greatest struggles in trusting God's timing is overcoming impatience. Many people find themselves frustrated, wondering why love hasn't arrived when they expected it to. It's easy to look around and compare our journeys to those of others, seeing friends get married, start families, and build lives together, while feeling as though we've been left behind. But God's timing is not based on societal expectations or personal timelines. He sees the full picture, and He knows when we are truly ready to receive the love He has prepared for us. The story of Abraham and Sarah is a perfect example of what happens when impatience leads us to take matters into our own hands. God promised Abraham that he would be the father of many nations. Yet years passed without a child. Sarah, growing weary of waiting, took matters into her own hands by giving her servant Hagar to Abraham, leading to unnecessary pain and conflict. However, when the time was right, according to God's plan, Sarah gave birth to Isaac, fulfilling the promise in a way that only God could. This story teaches us that when we try to force something before its time, we often create more heartache than blessings. But when we trust God's process, His promises unfold in ways beyond our imagination. Another key challenge in trusting God's timing is learning to surrender control. As humans, we have a natural desire to plan, predict, and orchestrate our lives, but true faith requires letting go and believing that God is leading us in the right direction. Proverbs chapter 3 verses 5 to 6 reminds us to trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your paths straight. This means that even when things don't seem to be happening the way we expect, we can rest in the assurance that God's plan is unfolding exactly as it should. The waiting season is not wasted time. Often, God uses periods of waiting to refine us, shape our character, and prepare us for the blessings ahead. Before meeting the right person, we may need to heal from past wounds, grow in spiritual maturity, or develop the patience and grace required for a strong relationship. David was anointed as king long before he ever sat on the throne. During that waiting period, he faced trials, challenges, and growth that prepared him for his destiny. Likewise, the time we spend waiting for love is not in vain. It is a season of preparation that ensures we are ready to receive and nurture the relationship God has designed for us. It's also important to recognize that God's delays are not His denials. Just because something hasn't happened yet does not mean it won't. The story of Ruth and Boaz illustrates how God's timing brings the right people together in the right way. Ruth didn't chase after love, she remained faithful in her journey. And in God's perfect time, Boaz entered her life. If we focus on being faithful rather than fixating on when love will come, we position ourselves for God's best. Trusting God's timing also means resisting the urge to settle. When we grow impatient, There is a temptation to lower our standards or accept relationships that are not aligned with God's will. However, settling for less than what God intends can lead to struggles and heartbreak that could have been avoided. God's plans for us are always greater than our own, and His timing ensures that we receive not just any love, but the love that is right for us. One of the hardest aspects of waiting is dealing with the unknown. We often ask, "When will it happen?" Or, "How will I know?" But part of trusting God is believing that we don't need all the answers. Instead of focusing on the unknowns, we can find peace in the certainty of God's promises. Isaiah chapter 40 verse 31 says, "But those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint." Waiting is not passive, it is an active process of faith, trust, and preparation. While waiting, it's essential to use this time wisely. Instead of dwelling on what hasn't happened yet, we can focus on growing spiritually, developing our gifts, and strengthening our relationship with God. When we prioritize our relationship with Him, we naturally align with His plans, making it easier to recognize the right person when they come into our lives. Instead of worrying about the future, we should invest in becoming the best version of ourselves. Ultimately, trusting God's timing is about believing that His love for us is greater than our own plans. He is never late, and He never withholds good things from His children. When we surrender our timelines to Him, we free ourselves from stress, anxiety, and fear. We step into a place of faith, knowing that the love He has prepared for us will arrive at the perfect moment. And when it does, it will be worth every moment of the wait. Saying yes to divine love is one of the most powerful decisions you can make in your life. It is an act of faith, trust, and surrender to God's perfect plan. Many people seek love, but not everyone is willing to wait for the kind of love that is ordained by God. Saying yes to divine love means embracing God's timing, His process, and His vision for your life. It requires you to let go of fear, doubt, and past hurts so that you can fully receive the blessings He has prepared for you. One of the first steps in saying yes to divine love is understanding that love is not just about emotions, it is about purpose. God's love is intentional, and the relationships He brings into our lives serve a higher calling. When you open your heart to God's plan for love, you are not just welcoming a romantic relationship, you're stepping into a partnership that will shape your spiritual journey. Godly love refines you, strengthens you, and helps you grow into the person He created you to be. Many people struggle with the idea of divine love because of past heartbreaks. Pain from previous relationships can create fear and hesitation. It can make you doubt whether true love is even possible. But the love that God has for you is different. It is healing, restoring, and life-giving. 1 John chapter 4 verse 18 reminds us, "There is no fear in love, but perfect love drives out fear." When you say yes to divine love, you are choosing to let go of past wounds and step into something greater. You are choosing to believe that God's love can heal and restore what was broken. Another challenge in embracing divine love is learning to trust God's timing. Many people want love immediately, but rushing ahead of God's plan often leads to disappointment. Trusting His timing means believing that He is working behind the scenes, preparing both you and your future partner for a relationship that will honor Him. Just as Rebekah was led to Isaac in Genesis chapter 24. God is guiding you toward the right person at the right time. Saying yes to divine love means surrendering your timeline to God and believing that His plan is better than anything you could create on your own. Saying yes to divine love also requires faith in action. Love is not just about waiting, it is about preparing. If you are asking God to bring the right person into your life, you must also be willing to become the right person. A strong, faith-filled relationship requires maturity, wisdom, and spiritual growth. Instead of focusing on when love will come, focus on becoming the best version of yourself. Deepen your relationship with God, cultivate your purpose, and build the qualities that will make you a loving, supportive partner. When you align yourself with God's will, you naturally attract the kind of love He desires for you. One of the biggest barriers to receiving divine love is fear. Fear of being hurt again. Fear of opening up, fear of losing control, but faith and fear cannot coexist. When you say yes to divine love, you are choosing faith over fear. You are choosing to believe that God's love is greater than your fears and that He will not lead you into anything that is not meant for you. Proverbs chapter 3 verses 5 to 6 encourages us to trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight. Let go of fear, and trust that God is guiding you towards something beautiful. Saying yes to divine love also means being willing to embrace love in its purest form. The world often teaches us that love is about emotions, attraction, and personal happiness, but divine love is about commitment, sacrifice, and service. It is about putting God at the center of your relationship and allowing his love to flow through you. A God-centered relationship is built on faith, prayer, and mutual growth. It is a love that reflects Christ's love for the church, a love that is patient, kind, and enduring. Sometimes, saying yes to divine love means letting go of relationships that are not in alignment with God's will. It can be difficult to walk away from something familiar, even when you know it is not right. But when you trust God, you understand that letting go of the wrong relationship makes space for the right one. If a relationship does not bring peace, draw you closer to God, or align with his word, it may not be his plan for you. Trust that God has something better in store. Another important part of saying yes to divine love is recognizing that love is not just about receiving, it is also about giving. Love is an action, not just a feeling. It requires effort, patience, and selflessness. When God brings the right person into your life, your love should be a reflection of his love. Ephesians chapter 4 verses 2 to 3 reminds us, "Be completely humble and gentle, be patient, bearing with one another in love. Make every effort to keep the unity of the Spirit through the bond of peace." Love is a daily choice to serve, support, and uplift your partner. Ultimately, saying yes to divine love is about trusting God's plan for your life. It is about believing that he knows what is best for you and that he is leading you towards something greater than you can imagine. When you surrender to his will, you open yourself up to a love that is pure, fulfilling, and life-changing. You allow him to work through your relationship, shaping both you and your partner into vessels of his grace. As you stand at this moment, ready to embrace divine love, take a step of faith. Trust God's promises. Open your heart. Let go of past fears and doubts. And when love arrives, receive it with gratitude and confidence, knowing that it is a gift from the one who loves you most. This is your time. This is your moment. Say yes to divine love, and watch as God unfolds a beautiful story far beyond what you ever imagined.